Welcome to the Fantasy Cycling Podcast, featuring your hosts, Grant Gardner and John Anderson. Chapeau, you're in the mix.
Welcome to the Fantasy Cycling Podcast. John speaking with my friend Grant this afternoon. Grant, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's a big sports week.
Sports week.
Yeah.
Sports.
Yeah. I mean, two of the most historic sporting events out there. You've got Paris-Roubaix and the Tour of Hainan.
Yes, definitely.
Some people thought I might have said the Masters or something like that, but no, the Tour of Hainan.
Yeah. Did you see the White House just released a statement on Paris-Roubaix, just talking about the history and how,
oh yeah.
Was that a message from the Donald himself on the historicity of Paris-Roubaix and how we as all Americans need to be tuning in?
Are we gonna like co-opt it as like our own? We're gonna claim. I mean,
I think you did. I think there was like a statement on the Masters.
Oh yeah, really?
Hilarious. Apology, listeners. I'm a little shaky. I just got scolded by Grant for, the editing that he has to do because I keep touching the microphone as I speak. So forgive me. I need like a fidget toy, or what I'm going to do is just swish my glass of Sauvignon Blanc over here.
There you go.
I mean, it is Holy Week. We got to celebrate.
Yep.
So before we get into the excitement coming up this weekend, just a quick recap on the races that have occurred.
Yeah.
Man, what a zany intro. Did
I
throw you off?
A little bit. Yeah, we'll try to get back on track here. But Ronde van Vlaanderen, Tour of Flanders this past Sunday. As you mentioned, the first half of Holy Week.
Yeah.
Flanders and Roubaix combo. So we saw, of course, Tadej Pogačar win that race. And I mean, it just wasn't
right.
Just wasn't much of a contest, was it?
Hey, put it there.
Handshake.
Handshake. We're shaking hands. We tied. Our team's tied.
We did, which doesn't matter in fantasy, right? We both picked the same riders. I thought Pogačar was going to win. You thought Van der Poel was win, but I mean, we had both of them, so it didn't matter.
Takeaways from a fantasy perspective on the race, or just the race in general?
I think outside of, we both had the top three, and really
nailed it.
Where a lot of the fantasy point value came in is folks that had those 200 and 400 credit riders farther down. And I mean, you had Stuyven that finished really high, and he was only 400 credits. We were high on Benoot, who finished sixth, and he
pat
was
ourselves on the back.
Yep, he was great value at 400 credits. But there was a few folks in there that were a little bit of a surprise. Davide Ballerini, at 200 credits, finished 10th. Another 200 credit rider that was up there was Marcus Holgaard, 14th. So those were the highest placed 200 credit riders. And then, of course, you had your 400 credits of Stuyven and Garcia Cortina and Lawrence Pithy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, we talked about all those folks being up there, like the Van Aerts,
the categories,
the Van Aerts and the Kungs and the Ghanas. It's just hard to fit those in when you do put a bunch of 1,200 or 1,000 credit riders up at the top of your roster.
Which begs the question, a best possible team would have been Pog, Pedersen, Van der Poel, and then after that, Stuyven, Benoot, Garcia Cortina, Ballerini, Holgaard, and Vermeersch. Which is actually a pretty balanced, only two 1,200 credit riders on there.
Yep.
It's a very balanced kind of roster. That might make me give some thought to my Roubaix roster, actually.
Yeah.
As you'll hear, as you're anxiously awaiting my picks, I'm going with a polarized,
top heavy
strategy. Good race though. I enjoyed watching it. Big crash, which caught up Van der Poel. I think an heroic effort from the Alpecin team to bring him back into the pointy end of the race. And then you had, Pog doing Pog things on the longer, more sustained uphills, which ultimately was the difference. I think you saw Van der Poel. I've been big on how smart of a rider he's been, not just this season, but in the last few years. He's very tactically sound, especially in a one-day race like this.
Yeah.
But he, I think, was just off kilter from the crash. You saw him having to close big gaps, being out of position on a couple of the hills. I think the first hill where things popped off, he was a little bit caught on the back foot. I don't know how much that had to play into his final result. I mean, he still was on the podium, but could the results have been different if things had gone a little more his way?
Potentially, but I think it would have been marginal. I mean, Pogačar still would have won based off the way that he attacked and the form that he had. So
is Pog boring? Do we hate Pog? How do you respond to the
that bell curve meme where it's like the midwit meme where it's got the guy at the end that's like really dumb, and then it's like the normal person at the top of the bell curve, and then it's like the enlightened one at the other end of the bell curve. And
before you proceed, what can you tell me again what a meme is?
The left end of the bell curve is Pogačar is cool, and then in the middle of the bell curve is Pogačar sucks, and then once you reach enlightenment, you come back to Pogačar is cool.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I didn't like him. I didn't think he was cool, and then you just at some point you appreciate greatness, right?
I think you got to learn this trick that you can both like a guy that's at the top of the sport, while at the same time desiring more parity.
Yeah. Well, you made that comment during the race. You're like, Pogačar is my favorite rider, but I don't want him to win.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Or I'm rooting for him to get caught. I mean,
yeah.
I have some, I don't know. I feel like I like everyone. It's just like my personality. There's very few riders that I don't like. Ultimately, I'm rooting for an entertaining race. But yeah, Pog is definitely up there on my list of guys that I enjoy, but I don't know if I root for him, if that makes sense. He's one of my favorite riders, but I don't always root for him. But I'm not mad when he wins. But that doesn't mean that I'm right. I'm not the authority on these things. Everyone's entitled to feel how they want to feel. But interesting. So, I mean, before we go in, I mean, we need to talk about the Tour.
I mean, we joke about it, but I mean,
you're freaking crushing it, dude. So what do I did a funny thing where I just did a filter by most valuable rider.
Yeah.
And literally hit the first. This is not something I should be confessing on a podcast where I'm talking about fantasy cycling. But we were in the middle of these sandwich between Tour Basque Country, Flanders and Roubaix, and I was like, I cannot care less about this race. I'm not, no offense to those riding.
Yeah.
But I just Christmas treed it. You know how when you had the Scantron test?
Yeah. Just picked all C.
You're doing good. What you got?
So I have Malicelli for Astana, who's gone well this season. Aaron Gate, who seems to go well in these smaller, Asian races like Chiang Mai or Hainan or Tour of Turkey, that kind of stuff. Aguirre, I had noticed him just from, I've been keeping track of results from every race that we've had this season. And Aguirre for Euskaltel Scotty has been up there in breakaways and getting King of the Mountains points and stuff like that. So in a smaller race like this, he's going to definitely come into the fore. I think maybe one of the big misses so far has been George Jackson, who won a stage in this race in 2023, has not scored any points yet. If we look at the best team, I've got 5 of the 9, but there's a few guys on here that, I've just never heard of. Luis Carlos Chia has 99 points.
From Colombia?
Yeah. Norman Vatra.
Of course, I'm hailing from Colombia.
Yeah. From Estonia is third in points there. So, yeah, I mean, these smaller continental races, there's just going to be guys you've never heard of unless you
Dude, shout out to Carlos Luis Chia, though, dude, with the picture and the kit, the pink kick, the Manzani Posta bomb. Dude, my God.
Yeah. He looks
and
tough.
He's got the goatee. Yeah, he's ready to fight. I like it.
But it is funny to at least look at I haven't watched a second of any of this race, but to at least look at the results and you're like, oh, I remember that guy from 2 years ago. And then he does something in a bigger like World Tour race.
I was going to ask you that. Is DEC a good kind of farming ground for learning new folks come up?
Yeah, because then you've got Pro Conti teams in here like Pulte Visit Malta, and there's a few guys on that team like Paul Double or Davide Pingazzoli that have come up on the bigger European stage races, and they get the kilometers in their legs at these smaller races. So they're
in the lanes.
Yeah, they're worth checking out.
Basque country.
Yeah, it's a big race. We had the big crash there last year, so
infamous crash.
A little bit of redemption for some folks.
Hopefully they're not riding that road again.
No, I'm sure they.
With the tree, remember the tree root gate?
Yeah,
where there was like close up shots of the tarmac, and there was like tree roots underneath the tarmac.
Yeah. So this is
By the way, man, freaking Jonas. Up to this point last year, in everything he rode, and in Basque Country, dude, he looked.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked so strong. That's a dang shame that we didn't get to see him and Pog go at it in the Tour last year. So you been dialed in on Basque Country? Give us a little recap of what we've seen so far, and maybe we could talk about it. But I hate my team, so I'm trying to avoid talking about it.
You do have Shockman though, right? At 200 credits. I know.
No,
sure.
I don't.
You don't. Our buddy Matt does, so that was a good call. If you picked him purely off
good job, buddy.
You picked him purely off the time trial. That was a good call because he won stage 1 and then has held on. Even though he was basically equal on time, it was milliseconds that he beat Almeida by on stage 1, but he's held on to that jersey. Mm-hmm. He's gotten a lot of points out of that for only 200 credits. And then stage 2, Caleb Ewan. He's
back.
He's got him a World Tour stage
Andrew
win.
WK of Pro Cycling.
And the funny thing about that is Ethan Hayter was 4th on stage 1 in the time trial and would have taken the leader's jersey if he sprinted on stage 1 and then stage 2 and then he crashed as he tends to do. So that was disappointing. Aramburu controversial win on stage 3. A disqualification that was reversed.
Big theme in the season so far.
Going the wrong way. Yeah.
As I pointed out before, a universal theme as cyclists. We can all identify with going the wrong way.
Yep.
Sometimes we go the wrong way in life, Grant.
But you just gotta.
Sometimes you go the wrong way and you find yourself on a degenerate sports fantasy sports podcast.
Yeah,
talking about the Tour of Hainan.
Yeah,
but
there's always times for a U-turn though.
There's always hey, turn your life around. Get right. It's Holy Week after all.
Yeah. And then back on track to stage 4 was João Almeida.
Yeah.
So he's well positioned to do something on GC here. He's got him a stage win, but Shackman's looking really good. So
the big takeaway is Shackman.
Yeah.
I mean, he showed out.
It's also funny, you've got Aramburu, he's kind of a meme of, like Lantern Rouge and stuff where they're
they're Benji kind of
they're always hyping him up.
Simping Aramburu.
And he's
the only rider I've got on my team that's in the top 9.
Which is funny is you would have picked him for the sprint, but he's been doing well on some of these climbs. And it's just that he's got that Spanish national champion jersey. He's just flying high.
Dude, all of the names in the top 9 are names that I kind of like as like some of these names are like go-tos I take in the lower point categories. I've never been I wonder if it'll tell me how many times I've taken on my team. No, it doesn't tell me off the top, but I don't take Almeida very often, but or Aramburu actually, but I took him this time on this ride. But Lipowitz is somebody I've used a whole bunch. Van Wilder is somebody I use a whole bunch. Del Toro, and Shackman I've used. I mean, he's only 200 credits.
Yeah.
But hey, let's talk about in the top 9 best riders for 400 credits and 37 points. Only 6% of users have taken him. Ethan Hayter. You little rascal.
He's so unreliable.
And then here he is.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a meme for us is every time we pick him, he lets us down. So we give up on him and then he reels you back in.
He creeps his way back into our hearts.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a chance on him in the Tour de France now.
Somebody I do probably need to give up on is Skelmosa.
Yeah.
It's time to let him go.
Putting him in the tent of suspicion.
Yeah. He's firmly in the tent of suspicion. He's expensive for what you get out of him. It's 1,000 credits. He's still 6 on points, but there's more value out there to be had. So
who's this Luca Van Boyven guy on Intermarché?
I think he's just kind of
he's just a guy.
Just kind of
he's
a guy
riding the bike, going in the right direction. Well, he's on the top 9 of the best team. Sorry, not top 9. I'm doing best team.
Yeah,
my bad.
No, he's at 200 credits. That's how he showed up there. But I think he's just a sprinter type. So yeah, it's been a great race so far. Maybe not. There's no aliens on this start list, which is fun.
Yeah,
a little more parity. But
speaking of aliens, take me to your leader. We're going to talk about Paris-Roubaix right now.
Yeah.
So the start list is not finalized, but most of the aliens that will be in attendance are. So yeah. I think most of the folks that we'll take are going. A lot of the content has dropped. If you want real in-depth on tactics, there's some good resources out there to listen to. Took in a little bit of that content today, Grant. But what you thinking? Do you want to do a little we do have, I think, some listeners that are kind of new to the sport, tracking along the sport, and also new to playing fantasy cycling. You want to do a little outline of what Paris-Roubaix even is?
Yeah. It is one of the most storied races in the pro cycling calendar, one of the 5 monuments. It is it's in northern France on the border of Belgium. It's pretty historic from following World War I. That area was pretty torn up and it was a hellscape. And that's where they called it the Hell of the North. And that kind of got co-opted into the name of the race because it's hell riding for cobbles for.
And I think it may be on YouTube, but there's a famous documentary called The Hell of the North that you can go out and.
A Sunday in Hell. Yeah.
Sunday in Hell. That's it.
Yeah. It's about Eddie Merckx's preparation for the race. So yeah, definitely check that out. But, there are, I don't know how many sectors there are this year, but, it's like almost 30 cobblestone sectors.
Yeah.
And varying levels of difficulty from 1 star up to 5 stars. And these are not like I'm at the beach and there's these cute little cobblestones like on the crosswalk, like cobblestones. These are like boulders that have been pressed down into mud.
Yeah.
And like they're jagged and
they deliberately go in and pull them up. And like if they get kind of washed over with dirt to where like the offensiveness of the cobbles to your bike has been diminished in any way by like sand and dirt, like go in and like clean out the ruts from in between to make them worse. And they get the goats out there to eat the weeds and the grass that's grown in between. I was telling somebody at work about this. Not to drop another golf reference, but I just described it as like the masters of pro cycling.
Yeah.
They're like, what about the Tour de France? And I was like, Tour de France is a Super Bowl. Yeah. This is the masters of.
Yeah, this is like Masters or Wimbledon.
Yeah.
It's
the classics in general might be like Wimbledon, and then this is like the crown jewel of
some of the most historic sectors. I mean, you've got the Ehrenberg trench, the Trout Ehrenberg, which you're coming in at speed. It's really long and straight. And it's just brutal.
Kind of like a funnel.
Yep.
Of pain.
Yes.
And death.
And then you've got some of these other sectors towards the end, like Mons Pavel, and that's really where the selection is happening and the race is being decided. And by the time you get to like into Roubaix, there's one more sector, and that's like your city cobblestones that are pretty chill. And you enter the velodrome and you do 1.5 laps, and
that's a great marker and characteristic that they finish. Is it 2 laps in the velodrome?
I think it's 1.5. They enter in midway through a lap and then complete that lap, and then 1 full lap to finish.
Yeah, and often it can come down to what's happening in the velodrome.
Yep.
Ooh, I'm kidding. I just got. Look at the.
You do have some goosebumps there. This is on my bucket list of I need to see it in person in the velodrome. It'd be amazing. If we look at
what do you make of the start list, man?
Yeah, I was going to look at some of the teams that are finalized. So Visma Lisa Bike has been finalized. They've got Wout van Aert, who has been in the top 10 of this race a few times. Dylan van Barle, who has won this race, which I believe that's Ineos' only monument victory. Nicholas Behrens, Julian Vermote, Matthew Brennan. Watch out. Young British rider for Visma. He's only 200 credits. He's shown some alien-like tendencies this season. So Eduardo Affini and Perstrand Hagenes. So that'll round out their team. Overall, not like the strongest team top to bottom. There's no Jorgensen, no Tish Benut, but I'm very interested by Brennan. And then of course, Van Barle and Van Aert.
Hey, I watched like a YouTube, like day in the life of a cyclist. It might've been put out by Visma on Brennan. Dude hopefully he's got some personality in there. I was bored to tears.
Oh yeah. I think
I think he's just so young.
Was it produced by Visma?
Yeah. They're
a little too corporate.
Yeah.
UAE, Tim Wellens, Florian Vermeers, Niels Pollitt, Tadej Pogačar, Antonio Morgado, Juan Sebastian Milano, and Mikkel Bjerg. I think it's a pretty solid team there. Niels Pollitt has finished second in this race before.
Mm-hmm.
Pogačar has never done this race before, and a debut.
Is he good? Is he good?
Yeah. Pretty good, pretty okay at bikes. But a debutant rider has not won this race in the modern era. So that is a statistic that is against Tadej Pogačar, but he is one to overcome statistics. Two other teams I'll pull out right now. Soudal Quickstep, Tim Merlier, Yves Lampart, Eiko Bastians, Luke Lamperti, Andrea Raccagni, Bert Van Leerberger, and Jordi Warlop. Pretty mid team from the former Kings of the Classics. I really don't think Tim Merlier has done super well in this race in the past.
What are you putting in like the top tier of teams? Visma, UAE.
Yeah, I mean,
Ineos. I'm surprised at how sparse this start list is.
Yeah.
Thursday before the race.
I think the top, Trek is going to be a top team with Pedersen, Milan, Stuyven, Vasic, Dan Hola, and Alpes and de Koenig. They've got a good team as well with Phillips and Vanderpoel, Groves, and Dillier, who has also finished second in this race before. So crazy stat is the last two editions, Vanderpoel and Philipsen have finished 1-2. That's pretty.
Really?
That's pretty insane for two teammates to finish 1-2 in one of the
last two editions.
Yeah.
Dang it, man.
It's like one of the most unpredictable races that you could participate in, and they've made it pretty predictable. So I think that's an interesting stat. But I don't know. I just don't know about Philipsen this season.
I don't either.
He's not on that level. Last year he won Milano Sanremo. So TBD on him. Also, he's 1,200 credits. So if you are trying to make room for folks on your roster, he's going to take up a lot.
Yeah.
Did you pull up the top competitors there?
I did. You want me to go down?
Yeah.
You just mentioned two of them. Vanderpoel, Van Aert on the top two spots. And then our friend Teef McGee, Nils Pollitt, third spot.
Is this top classics riders or just?
Oh, I'm doing previous performance. My bad.
Oh, okay. That's good too.
Is it as good? You want me to do?
Well, keep going through previous performance real quick.
Yeah, I guess you just did that though, but I think that's why I was looking over here. Top competitors per PCS. Debutant Tadej Pogačar, Jasper Philipsen, Mathieu van der Poel, Biniam Girmay, Mads Pedersen, Johnny Milan, Tim Merlier, Wout van Aert, Filippo Ganna, and Alexander Kristoff of your top 10 competitors per PCS. And then previous performance, you just dropped all those stats, but just to jump back in where I was, Van der Poel, Van Aert, Nils Pollitt, Yves Lampert, Stefan Kuhn, Jasper Philipsen, Dylan van Baarle, Jasper Stuyven, Mads Pedersen, and Alexander Kristoff. And honestly, a bunch of those names are like
dinosaurs.
Not going to break the bank though, but they are. But they're not going to break the bank from a budget perspective.
Yeah,
and that'd be an interesting strategy just to go. I don't know what the math would work out. You'd have to cut some of those folks.
You were wondering if you could take all 9.
You could. But I bet you could get, it'd be interesting experiment to see how many of the top 9 previous competitors you could get with the combination of your budget.
Yeah.
And just roll with it.
It's not a terrible idea.
You got a preliminary start? Let's not go through the categories like we talked about before, just because there's not enough people. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not enough folks. We basically went through all the categories with that preliminary discussion we had there. And there's not a whole lot of 200 credit riders out there right now that we would make up the most of our discussion. So we are going to go through who we've got. That might change.
Subject to change.
So, yeah. disclaimer there. But of course, at the top, I've got Mathieu van der Poel. Won the last 2 editions, only 800 credits. Hard not to pick him. We went through his monument stats last week. He does not miss very often. Mads Pedersen. Last year he was 3rd. The year before that he was 4th. He's in great form this season. He has circled this race on his calendar. I mean, he's been pretty clear on social media since December that he's training specifically for this race.
He's been sending it for every classic.
Yep. Filippo Ganna. Hopefully I've not gotten on the train too late.
I like it.
But he was 6th last year. And let's look at his last few results this season. He was 8th at Flanders, 3rd at E3, 2nd at Milano-San Remo. So he's feeling it. And he's got the previous results to speak for it. Somebody else who has not capitalized yet, but has had great results at Roubaix is Stefan Kung.
Yeah.
He was 5th in 2024, 5th in 2023, 3rd in 2022.
Yeah.
That's about as good as you can
And
get.
he got 7th in Flanders.
Yeah. So.
And 9th in Dwars-Door-Vlaanderen. And 6th at E3. I mean.
Yeah. What else can we say, folks?
And he's on a team that there's no.
He's the guy.
He's the guy.
Yeah. I mean, last year he had to compete with Lawrence Pithy, who's moved on to Red Bull.
How much does he cost?
Kung is 800 credits.
Cheap.
Value.
And cheap considering his Palmares.
Yep. Mentioning Lawrence Pithy, he is still only 400 credits. He was 7th in this race last year.
2 though.
And I think he was 11th at Flanders.
Yeah.
So hard not to pick him. Matthew Brennan, we mentioned him a minute ago, has had a great season. He won Grand Prix de Denon, which is kind of like a baby Roubaix, earlier this season. Lawrence Rex, we mentioned him a lot. His previous results, he was 9th in 2023, DNF'd last year. Alex Sagert, I'm just going to keep picking him until it happens. But, and then another exciting rider this season, Lucas Kubis for Tetima Rockets. He's a sprinter. He's gone well in the classics. And I mean, this is a great opportunity if he gets in the right position. There's not any hills to worry about. It's just, can you hold on throughout all the cobble sectors and get a little bit of luck along the way too, without flats or anything like that. So
yeah,
we've seen a few kind of call them randos finish.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got Sylvain Dillier.
Odds of randos are high in this race.
There was a great story a few years ago of this. Can't remember where he was from, like Romania or something, but Edvaldas Siskevicius. He the year before, he finished outside the time limit, and by the time he got to the velodrome, they'd closed.
Yeah,
like the janitor had locked the gate.
story.
Next year, finishes like 10th.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's one of those races where it's like, it's kind of like the FA Cup, you know, a minnow can eat a shark, right? So
Yeah.
there's always a chance.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of overlap in our teams.
Oh, who didn't I pick there, John?
For my team?
No, I mean, somebody stood out that was not on my team.
Oh, I don't know, a certain debutante.
Yeah. Tadej Pogačar.
Jordan, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
We got a lot of overlap, Grant. So I'm not going to bore the listeners, but I am going with 2 debutantes, neither named Pog, also, which you both have on your team, which is Brennan and Kubis. I'm predicting that Brennan's going to win this race.
Matthew Brennan. I mean, in this race, it could happen.
It really could.
Remember when Johnny Moscone
Yeah.
had basically won and then crashed, and it was brutal.
Oh, yeah, that was brutal, but he's a kind of a villain, so everyone was like, good. He could have won, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got I too have Pedersen. I too have Vanderpool. I too have Ghana. I like Ghana.
Yep.
I really like Ghana for this. I too have Lawrence Rex, Kubis as well, and Brennan. I am going with the Step Brothers. The Step Brothers strategy.
Mick and Tim.
Mick and Tim, both going to be in the top 10. They're going to F this thing up.
Give us the stats on their previous performance.
Feed us some meatloaf. Well, Mickey Boy. Oh, no, Timmy Boy. Timmy. He got 16th, 5 points in 2024. Mick, who less users are on to, he got 19th in 2024. Which I think is when I first became aware of them.
And I think that was actually a relegation. I think they were top 10. Remember,
Did they pull some pranks on the race organizers?
No.
They get in a fight at the dinner table and get grounded and get relegated.
I think he deviated in his sprint in the velodrome.
Oh.
But he was top 10.
Are you kidding me? After they just do all that, they're going to call deviations in the velodrome? The whole point of the velodrome is you swing up and down off of those banks to deviate. I mean, what the heck? That's lame. Hey, you're going to be surprised at this, though. So I've told you everybody else to take my 9th rider. I've had a change of heart going with Wouty Boy.
Really?
Wout van Aert. Third in 2023, redemption. He can sprint. This is a flat race. And he's going to be there. He just has to sit in, follow the moves. If I was him, I'd sit right on Pedersen's wheel and mark everything that Pedersen does until the end. And then let Vanderpool and Pedersen worry about, and Ghana worry about Pog. Don't do a dang thing. Send Brandon on a flyer, maybe, if there's like a reduced bunch.
Yeah.
But neither me or you are taking Pog. He's going to finish in the top 10, though.
Yes.
Or he's going to wreck.
I do believe that Pogačar will finish in the top 10, but I don't think there's enough opportunity for him to distance himself from his rivals. Also, if you look at previous results at like Flanders, where when it did end in a sprint, there was nothing he could do, and he finishes like 5th.
Yeah.
So how valuable is a 1,200 credit rider that finishes 5th?
Yeah.
Not as valuable as an 800 credit rider that finishes first.
I may rip up my entire strategy, though, and go with some of these more value, like your Stefan Kuhns and your...
Yeah.
So I'm going to play around with that and tinker with it. I like Vanderpool and Wout both, just because of the time they're going to take on everybody just from being comfortable in the dirt and rounding those cobble corners in the dirt. Like if you watch the Instagram clips that are out there right now, there's so many clips of teams acclimatizing themselves to the cobbles and slipping off to the side, finding themselves in these ruts. You've got to take corners on these cobbles. Vanderpool and Wout are going to take time on everybody because they're going to be able to hit those corners with so much more confidence and speed. Does look on the weather like we might get a little bit of wetness, a little moisture.
Yeah.
Which I think favors, again, those two guys. Not going to be cold enough, I think, to where you're going to see those folks that really like the cold weather thrive. I think Pedersen likes the cold a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
So before we close, I have a note of a previous Paris-Roubaix winner. So
I have something don't let me forget to say something.
Okay. So our buddy Mihai Simeon on Twitter post some great content.
Is he our buddy?
No, he probably doesn't even know, doesn't follow us, but he could be our friend.
He will one day.
he posted a picture of Matt Hainan training in his garage.
With his arm on a ladder?
His arm on a ladder. He'd broken his arm. And this is great. And he posted that picture and someone said, what is the context? And I said, do tell. So I commented and said, in 2016, Matt Hainan broke his arm at Omloop at Nieuwsblad on February 27th. And then had to do the majority of his training for Roubaix on the turbo trainer. I think Zwift had just come out. And then by April 10th, he's racing in his 16th Paris-Roubaix. And he beats the best classics rider of his generation, 4-time Paris-Roubaix winner, Tom Bonin, in a small group sprint in the velodrome. Wild. Anybody can win this race. Most will lose, but
you got to have an engine though. And sitting on Zwift for 6 hours a day will build you an engine. That's why I like Ghana for this, and Tarling. I wish I tried to fit Tarling onto my team and I couldn't.
Yeah. What was your point you wanted to make?
We're doing a draft.
Yes. So
we're excited about this.
Yeah, we're trying to make time. It's a lot easier for us to just jump into the Cycling Fantasy app and make our picks for each race, but we're trying to give Fantacycling a try.
Shout out Fantacycling.
And
what country does that app hail from?
They're Italian. And they've got a podcast themselves, but it's all in Italian, so I don't know what they're talking about. But this game's a little more unique because you draft like fantasy football or fantasy baseball or some of the other traditional sports where there's lots of games throughout the season and you can keep this and the same people participate every week. I'm going to be interested to see how this goes.
Yeah.
Because you're drafting a team for the whole season, but as we know, the season varies a lot. Folks don't race every week.
Mm-hmm.
But it is kind of cool because we're not going to have that overlap when we pick teams of, we both can't have Mathieu van der Poel.
So I guess ideally you'd want to do your draft like in January, right? Like before things kick off. I guess that the app has functionality where you can just do it whatever and just kind of take off from where you started.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. As someone who's played fantasy football before, I like that.
Yeah.
The draft experience.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably start off small because we have no friends. But if you want to hit us up on X or Instagram and be our friend, you can see us there at the handle listen the number 2 FCP. Dude, hit us up and tell us, and we'll add you to our draft. I don't care.
And if you're already playing the game, explain it to us because we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing. So, just kind of industry watch corner.
Yeah,
we are. We dabble a little bit in velo games. We speak mostly about the cycling app because that's our game of choice at the moment. I think that translates well, even your picks to velo games as well. But I'm interested to see what these guys are doing in Fantacycling. And then also, I don't know if Escape Collective is going to do their little game. We could probably pick that up for the Grand Tours.
Yep.
And then that's put in the parking lot for an update next week on how, after Roubaix, what the leaderboard is looking like on our league on the app.
Yes.
So don't forget to get your picks in so that you can claim your prize, which is TBD.
Yeah.
Could be a home-cooked meal.
Yeah.
Home-cooked meal from Kate. I don't know.
Or
you have to fly over here for
Specialized S-Works or
we got an S-Works or two lying around here. I got a burner bike here somewhere. Check it out on Marketplace.
See you on Swap Meet.
All right, guys. Well, we'll talk to you next week, and we will have a winner of Paris-Roubaix. Excited to watch on Sunday.
Can't wait to watch.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.